books, and she has some of them down here, and they're going to be for sale at reduced rates for the purchaser, but the proceeds are for the Castaway Kids.
What's the date?
I think it's the 27th.
I can't remember. I read it.
Does it say it on there?
Oh, 27th, I think, if I remember correctly.
Friday the 27th, last Friday.
Friday, the 27th,
What time?
10 o'clock.
10 a.m.
It's in Tequilas Library.
Oh, it's right at the top. It's, yeah, Friday
The hall
20.
just behind.
Bill's our special effects expert.
Is your mic still on?
No, I turned it on.
Okay. I think we're good.
I really don't need to be on the meeting in this thing. It just uses up bandwidth.
reports of some of these newer cars that are actually less secure than older cars because it's all integrated electronically and their info system is compromisable.
But you still have to have time to do it.
Well, yeah, but you don't have you can do it from a distance, right? You can do it wirelessly. You don't even have to be in the car to do it.
It's like the one truck we have. Well, I guess we still do. You can be on Star and you can say, I lock my safe and unlock your truck for you.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Hey, I've just pressed the streaming button in case anybody's interested. Everything's going out live on the internet right now. I'm Scott Stimson from International Computer Solutions, joined here with the San Carlos Computer Club in person once again here in Tequilas. We meet every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. And we have, how many people we got today? We've got 8 of us, 7 of us in person. That's out front.
Well, I think I gotta pay to get in.
That's right.
And negotiating a better rate.
Mike has been working the velvet rope, keeping people out. This is an exclusive club. And we've got Cheryl, Paul, Linda, and Chester joining us online. So there's 7 of us here and 4 of us out there in the ether of virtual space. You are existing in the metaverse, except you all have pants on. You have to stay up to date on metaverse news.
Is that a requirement?
That's a Mark Zuckerberg joke. You know, he put together what he's calling the metaverse, and one of the big innovations that he claims to have finished in the last 6 months is he put pants on everybody. Before, his avatars were only waist high. And actually, we learned later, even though he showed off pants, they actually didn't have legs. They had to do something to make that look the way it did, because they actually don't have legs. So as in typical fashion, I have come with a list of topics that I sent out to you guys this morning. So I don't know who's had a chance to even look it over or see if they were interested in any of those things. But like always, I'm more interested in your actions with technology throughout the week. And if anybody has come with a question or something they want to solve, something they want to announce, we started the meeting with Jim announcing about Caroline's book. What is it called again?
Book reading.
The book reading.
It's a benefit for the castaway kids.
I'm putting that on my screen now. It's Castaway Kids Benefit, where Caroline will be talking about her books. And I'll let Jim say a little bit more.
They'll be available at a cut rate to the purchaser and at a proceeds for the kids at Castaway Kids. And should be a good time, 10 o'clock in the morning on the 27th of this month.
In the Tequilas Clubhouse.
Tequilas Clubhouse, that's right.
Everybody's invited.
Everybody's invited, and as a fundraiser, we are selling the books, but we are also having a raffle with some fun prizes, book related. So the event is called Let Me Tell You a Story, and it's the story of Caroline, but it's also the story of the Castaway Kids, the after-school program that's being run as a pilot program for the children, the school-age children in Ranchitos. And that's Cheryl joining us virtually because she's got a book club that she's getting set up for and is involved in this Castaway Kids benefit that's happening on the 27th. And happy birthday, Cheryl. Happy birthday, Cheryl. We know you celebrated your birthday since the last time we saw you. We won't ask you to reveal any more information. Oh, you're muted.
On the pants topic, do pajama bottoms count?
Yes. All bottoms count. All bottoms count. They matter. Okay, well, who's brought some topics for today's meeting? I could just start by saying we're doing in-person meetings, obviously. The other thing on the list is always, as has been the case for almost a year, podcasts have not started up. Judy, I could share some of your experience. I got a call from Judy over the weekend that everything had disappeared on her Macintosh, which has got to be quite distressing. But Judy, being a good computer club member, has a external hard drive that's running Time Machine on her Macintosh. Time Machine that adds a lot of security to something like this happening. The computer fails, something gets deleted. Time Machine is an excellent backup solution for on-site backups.
Is that a paid program?
It's only for Macintoshes.
Oh, it's built in. Okay.
It's built right into the operating system. There are probably people out there that buy Macs simply because it has such a secure backup system built right into it. They're probably the same people that are using iMovie to make their movies and iPhotos to I mean, it's an all-in-one package they've got there. And if you want to pay that price for those items, those are highly beneficial items. I have to say, for my kids' quinceanera, I was putting together a photo slideshow movie, and I kept going back to iMovie, but it is not as intuitive as I'd want it to be. I learned a lot, but iMovie was intended to be a very straightforward, intuitive program for anybody to make their own movies. And something has happened to it over the years because it is not intuitive.
Yeah, they keep adding stuff to that.
Well, and they keep changing the paradigm, and I don't know where they're going with it, but iMovie has a even when it comes to saving the movie when you're done, there is no save button to find. The only button in it is a share button, which opens up another menu that asks, would you like to share this as a file, or would you like to use a service?
Share it with yourself.
Right, and so the file, how you make your file, are lining you up for YouTube or Facebook or Twitter.
Automatic save in your project?
Well, another benefit, and not to be here selling Macintoshes, but another benefit of the Macintosh operating system is all their applications are auto-saving. Or to my experience, everything that you do is you don't anymore. That's what it feels like. And their movie projects are very much that way. Now, I think the confusion comes from how they bring prior projects into the inventory of media that you use to make movies. So you can get access to, it's just a different paradigm. Something you have to get used to if you've used editing suites. iMovie's turned into something very different. Anyway, back to Judy. She went ahead and used her Time Machine to restore her desktop without any real explanation for why everything disappeared.
The other thing was that my mouse stopped at the same time. Now, this is, again, a coincidence, but I can't do anything with the touchpad thing. I'm not good with it at all. So then I couldn't even move things.
But because of her computer club experience, she was not frantic.
Not too frantic.
Not too frantic. It was a controlled panic.
That's right.
If Scott had called me back, I would have been in default panic.
I don't believe that, because the message I got was everything was gone from my desktop. And by the time I got to talk to her on the phone, everything was back on her desktop. So I don't think that you would have gotten free fall, but it was.
No, but it was scary. It was like, oh, because I haven't printed out my tax documents or anything like that. So it was really like.
Going back to Time Machine for a moment, every time you make a change to a document in a Macintosh, it gets accumulated, and then every hour those changes are moved over to the Time Machine backup. So you can periodically go back through changes in your document. And so as long as your taxes hadn't been whipped out in 15 minutes and then everything deleted, you should have a copy of it in your backup.
Is that in laptops too, or just in desktops?
It's in both, but you do have to make allowances for the external.
Mine is a laptop.
Yeah, hers is a laptop, but you have to, I mean, it's an external hard drive. So you have to plug it in for it to get the backups. But what they'll do, regardless of whether it's a laptop or desktop computer, is they'll accumulate those changes into a buffer that gets moved to the time machine external hard drive when you connect it. So you can connect it and wait, and eventually it'll do the backup and it'll move all that stuff out of the buffer over into the, or you can force it. There's a button to say backup now, and it'll just push that over. But no, this is USB. You have to connect a USB external drive or a FireWire drive.
I'm confused. I didn't think Time Machine was my external drive. I thought Time Machine was built into my.
So the program is built into the laptop, but
it won't work without an external.
without an external storage to put the time machine in.
And you can just buy anybody's. Buy that.
No.
Well, in this case, it's a USB drive, so you can use any USB drive that's out there as an external drive. You could, but you'd have to get one big enough to satisfy the capacity of the device you're backing up.
Mine was 1 terabyte. And I use my passport. That's not a problem. But that's what I use.
Yeah, so your passport was like a 2 terabyte drive, and your hard drive, I think it was like a 256. So that's about 4 times the size of what you need to back everything up on the computer. And then, so she's got plenty of room to grow. Any changes, any incremental changes, any upgrades to the system, those will all be added on top of that backup. Hey, Jim's coming in. Hello, Jim. You're catching us.
Good morning, everybody.
Where is a Jim view? There's a Jim view. Good to see you this morning.
Sorry I'm late. It's been a busy morning already.
Well, we've been at a loss without you.
Thank you.
Let me know if you've brought any topics. We were just talking about Judy's desktop disappearing on her Macintosh this weekend.
Yeah, actually, I do have a topic too. All of a sudden, I realized my cell phone has not accepted a voicemail since late November.
2022.
It's you. You're the one.
That's your cell phone. Oh,
Is it Telcel you're talking about?
It's AT&T.
What do we got going on? Somebody's mic on?
Yeah, somebody up there.
mine's off.
Okay.
Now it's on.
Yep, it's you.
It's me.
So is this a Telcel cell phone or AT&T? It actually doesn't matter. You have to contact your cell carrier to sort that out.
It's AT&T.
Yeah, I mean, you should be able to get into your voicemail messages. Is it full?
No, I even emptied a bunch out just to make sure that it had plenty of room. It does.
But it's still not receiving messages.
Yeah, people can call and leave a message. It just never shows up.
Never shows up. You have an iPhone, is that right?
Correct.
So what I've learned from switching over to iPhones is that there is very much 2 different messaging systems. There's the iPhone messaging system, and there's the other messaging system used by all other platforms, basically Android. That other system is out there in the phone world. So you have to connect to the cell network, and you have to listen to them tell you your messages. It's the classic voicemail system that you've probably used many times in your life. There's nothing special about it. The Apple messaging system catches those audio calls, creates them as audio files, transcribes them, and puts them in your phone. So that in your iPhone, you're able to listen to audio files whether you're connected or not. I mean, after you've received it, you've got it in your phone. And you're able to read a transcription with that. I think you're probably recognizing what I'm talking about. This is
And I've had an iPhone since the iPhone 3. I have never had this problem before.
Yeah, I just wonder if something hasn't disrupted your service. One of the things that I learned with the Telmex way of doing things is that I can reach out to the online system. I can call my voicemail instead of just picking it up out of my iPhone by going to voicemail and listening to the message there. I can do that classic thing that you do with an Android phone. I can hold down one and it'll dial voicemail, and I can pick up my voicemail messages that way, even though I have an iPhone.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll make it up.
I don't know if that helps you in any way, but
You have to have a different password.
Well, it's worth trying.
I don't think I had a different password to do that. But yeah, I don't remember needing a different password. Well, in the case of most phones that have been set up, if you hold down one, it'll dial your voicemail.
Okay, I'm going to try that.
Hold it down. And at least with my Mexican voicemail, I was caught completely off guard. We were trying to sort out why I wasn't able to use Apple voicemail. And I discovered this just on a fluke, that I could get into a voicemail outside of the files that are being sent to my iPhone. And this is Telcel. So I don't know if that helps in other situations.
Well, I'm AT&T, sorry.
It works on mine.
Really?
Well, call failed, but it did go to voicemail.
It did go to voicemail, yeah.
Mine did too.
So that should be the voicemail out there in phone network land. You couldn't get access to it if you're disconnected from the network. But I guess it complements. I mean, maybe that's where the messages are. Yeah, maybe that's where the messages are getting transcribed and sent to your iPhone.
I just tried it on my iPhone, and yes, holding down the one phoned a voicemail, but it asked me for my passcode, and then it informed me that my passcode was wrong, and it isn't wrong. So I'm not sure, I couldn't access it that way. But yesterday, I have two-step verification on all my cards and everything. And every time it sent me the code via text to my AT&T iPhone, it did not come through. So then I had it send it as a call, and it went straight to voicemail, and I was able to get the code that way. But yesterday there was all kinds of problems with my AT&T again. And there has been off and on since beginning of December, since we got down here.
I have been noticing, I used up on Telcel during the quinceanera, doing tests with my phone. And so I have both services in my iPhone, and I forced it to use my AT&T data package, and I found it very spotty. Doing AT&T data from a US phone service, I found that I could get data, but it was in bursts. It would hang up, and I'd be waiting, and then all of a sudden I get this burst and be like, well, I guess it's working. But I'm able to do some stuff, and then it would go away. It would like fade away at times. I don't know, Cheryl, but I too am having AT&T issues.
Flip side of that is our Telcel works very well in Canada.
Yeah.
I have Telcel also, the world's biggest city, but it works beautifully.
And outside of Mexico as well.
I've used it in Canada and the US.
I've had Telcel work beautifully all through Arizona, and had struggles in Alaska this last summer. Worked great in Oregon when I visited. But in Alaska, all summer we had problems with data. We could get phone calls. No, I'm sorry, we didn't have problems. It wasn't data. We couldn't make phone calls, couldn't receive phone calls. But we had data, so I could surf the internet. I could use an internet phone, like I could use a Skype, or I could use WhatsApp to make phone calls. But I couldn't make that traditional cell phone call. It never would connect, and if you dialed me, all you get is my voicemail. So it was like my phone was off the network. But I had plenty of data. I could check email, surf the internet, make VoIP calls. And I could get text messages. Those traditional SMS text messages would come across my phone, and I could send them out. At the end of the summer, and as a side note, I noticed that I was connecting to AT&T. And at the end of the summer, say probably August, everything started working flawlessly, exactly the way it was working all other summers I'd been up there. And I noticed that I was connecting to Verizon and not AT&T. And I think AT&T and Telmex had some issues, and Telmex recontracted up in Alaska with Verizon. I'm sorry, Judy, you were going to add something.
Here, the only problem I have is that I have a lot of call fails when I'm calling the States on my AT&T cell phone. And, but if I just redial back, it normally goes through.
Well,
Yeah, we have often gets there's echoes and it's crackly like that. Dialing back gets another line somehow.
Well, another thing I've noticed with my Telcel service is that if I call a UN here, I'll typically get an inferior call quality. If I'm the one initiating the call through Telcel to an American phone that's down here, then it will be almost underwater, the call quality. But I could ask that same customer to call me back, and it would be a clean conversation. And I have fixed calls by switching over to our bed and breakfast line, which I carry now in this phone, the AT&T service, and calling an American phone from that while I'm down here, and it's a crisp, clean call, no problem.
Still get unlimited calling.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's even when you're dialing 800 or 888, or it'll say the call number you're calling is not toll free, you call from outside, but I get the free for me because I get unlimited calling. It doesn't matter what number. Yeah.
What else nuance can I think of? Oh, the Telcel service, even though you get the same data, the exact same data plan, the exact same call plan, the exact same texting plan throughout the United States and Canada, as you do in Mexico, for it to work, you have to put your phone on roaming. You have to allow roaming. Even though you're not charged any extra for roaming, the device will not work outside of Mexico unless it's on roaming. Yeah. And that's all our cell phone nuances. Where did my meeting go?
We're here.
There we go. I'm sorry. I am sitting in front of 3 computer screens. So I knew I hadn't ended it because they were up there and right there. Now I've got 4. Sure.
The Verizon service, I get, it works really well, but at times it's really slow. And whether I'm standing behind a building or I have no idea what it is. So is that because it's reading off my Bluetooth or is it reading off my system, my Telmex?
Well, what do you mean by slow? What is it you're doing that seems slow?
When I download something, it's really slow down.
Okay. Like you're watching a download progression bar and it's just taking forever to get through. And are you connected to any other network or is it just the cell network you're going across?
Other Verizon Power here, my Bluetooth and that.
There are towers that would support Verizon radios, and Verizon has a contract to give you service down here. They've got a cross-connect contract, but it's hard to say whether that's related to the contract or related to your location. When people talk about these kinds of issues, I often ask them to go try it in various parts, because the way cell technology works is you can sell. There's a cell out in front of San Francisco. There's a cell out at Costa del Mar. There's all these different points that you could find yourself connected. And each one of those points represents a different array of technology that's been put out there. And you might find that you're getting better service at a different one of these points, and you become aware of which points to stay away from. Just recently, I had a customer who bought a brand new Samsung, identical to the previous Samsung. It's just like the next iteration. But the next iteration was such a difference in change. It was almost like changing the date on the manufacturer of the phone. It met all the same criteria, same processor, it met the same antennas, the same frequencies. And so her hope was that all she'd have to do is move her environment over to this other phone and stick in her cards, and away she would go. And that's actually how it looked from my office. But when she took it back up, the phone wouldn't find Telcel. She'd take her service and stick it in the other phone. And I'm telling you, you read it on paper, these are the same phones. These phones are the same frequencies, the same antennas, the same support, everything exactly the same, practically identical, just the next iteration. And she could see the competitor's cell signal from where her house was, but she could no longer see I can't remember. It was either she could see Telcel and couldn't see AT&T, or vice versa. But that's essentially the gist of it. She could see the competitor's signal, but she couldn't see her carrier's signal. Whereas in other parts of the town, she could see the competitor's signal and be able to get connected to it. And so there's something about the manufacturing of that phone, or the way that the frequencies were being used in her area, that she just did not have access to that. I'm like, go get on the roof, see if you can find it. But she definitely had a much better experience with the older equipment. And so I would encourage you to do an experiment in different areas of town to see if you get different results. Yeah, and if you get the same results, I would almost blame it on Carrier Connect contracts. I felt like when we started having problems in Alaska was when I first got there, I was able to make phone calls, no problem. And as tourists flooded into the town, and we get millions of people, it was more like a saturation of system. And Telcel was not prioritized. It was almost like whenever I was making a call, I was waiting behind all these other phones that got priority on that cell than I did. And they would let me have data to do, intermediate things, but to maintain that stable phone connection, it wouldn't allow me to.
That sounds like Sonora, sounds like here.
Yeah.
Exactly. But not only that, I think I heard you say you were standing behind a building at one point.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that,
buildings.
Sure, yeah, it could. It could.
Stand in front.
But you.
Yeah. Seriously, it's like.
You heard it here first.
But I used to, we had two little houses that we lived in. And when you try to get across to the other one, you had to get a router, what do they call those?
Sure, yeah, extender.
To make it work. So this is because all the concrete in between. Yeah.
And that kind of interference, you should be able to see on your phone. When you're looking at bars, when we talk about bars, you should be able to see that kind of interference. So you should see a drop in bars because you're standing behind the house, and you should pop out in front of the house. But yeah. So I would try it in different places around town. You might have better luck. There is actually an example of this that I can easily notice: the road to the Dolphinarium. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but you'll drop calls as you're going out there because there's this little blind spot between San Carlos and the road to the Dolphinarium where if you're on the phone, you'll get disconnected and you can immediately, maybe like 10 seconds later, you can remake a phone call, but it'll drop the call. And there's an area on the Dolphinarium Road, it may be the same situation, where it's only 3G. There is no 4G out there on that road for a section of the road. And so you would expect tremendously slower downloads connected to 3G than if you were connected to 4G under any normal circumstances.
Until all those watch get sold.
Or Semana Santa. You might find 3G is a lot easier than...
No. But it's great things.
No. Now, 5G has been pushed. 5G needs to be installed. It's how we move forward, but it's more like we move forward with it because it offers more opportunities for the services they're trying to use. And so it's the way you deal with saturation. I don't know if you've ever tried to use an old router in a saturated network, a congested area, like one of these areas, or in a downtown area where there's Wi-Fi's everywhere now. You can't use an old router, and it has nothing. The old router is, well, I mean, it could be broken, but it's not. I mean, let's say it's a completely healthy Wi-Fi router. What it is, though, is it's antiquated in its way of dealing with interference and traffic. And so now that there's so much more interference and traffic, it's inadequate to just do what you were doing before. And so the cell networks are very much like that, too. They want to offer more availability to do what you're already doing. If you drop down to 3G, you forget that you can't watch a YouTube video. You can barely listen to music across it. You can surf web pages and you can check email. And that's what we used to think was using the internet on your phone, was surfing web pages and checking email. But now people are doing their music subscriptions through it. They're watching videos through it, and that congests the network, especially in an area like ours. That's why Semana Santa is always so funny, is because we've got plenty of capacity for your regular comings and goings, but you get 10 people all connected to these same cells, and nobody can use their cell phones. And so they'll alleviate some of that congestion at the same time everything's incrementally growing by actually putting out 5G points for people to use. And people will be buying more recent phones that support 5G, and so they'll be able to tick over to those points, eliminating. I mean, like the congestion doesn't go away. It's just kind of like dealing with it. It's like those 4G points are still congested, but now we have a place to kind of run off that extra traffic because there's a group of people using the 5G technology. I guess what I'm getting at is you wouldn't buy a 3G phone now, and we're almost to the point where you wouldn't buy a 4G phone. Though what that means is that your phone for the future should support 5G, even though it's going to offer you very little benefit over what the phone is you own right now. When you get into your new phone, you want to get into the 4G or the 5G phone. Because that's coming. Your phone supports 5G as well. But you're not going to see any tremendous change to your life. What you're going to see is we're able to do it still. My point with the Wi-Fi routers is you're going to still. Some of the advantages it gives you, though, is that 5G, we're going to start seeing 5G routers in people's houses. Like you may, in fact, there's some products out there that, gosh, I can't remember the name of it now, but it sits in the corner of your room. Well, and Telcel has one. It's not a 5G product, but well, it's not mesh. It's from the cell network. But the whole concept is you don't have an internet provider. You buy this device and you pay a month. And the device has a contract with the local cell network to provide you with 5G connectivity. And so you've got this really fast internet connection and you don't run to your house. Yeah, right. Well, it is essential. It is.
Best things
The difference is that in the past, a hotspot was something that you created yourself. You bought it from a cell phone network. If it's the kind I'm describing, you would go and you buy a Telcel hotspot to use in your house, and you get your. Well, you pay a monthly fee for access to it.
Well, okay, it's in the monthly.
Yeah. I mean, we've all got, or most of us have cell phones that are sophisticated enough to act as a hotspot. So you can always turn it on and it doesn't cost anything extra. It just eats into your data plan, whatever you're paying for that. But now we've reached a point where
Behind you.
someone moved lickety split to the restroom. For those of you that can't see, Jim just stuck a sock on the table.
Found it on the floor. Yeah, we aren't going to go there.
But so the next generation of this stuff is, it's not even from AT&T, or it's not even, it's more like being from Roku. Last week we were talking about Roku providing TV service. So you've got like a Netgear or a Linksys, one of those kinds of companies offering you internet service. And they've created a box that you quite literally plug in and you do everything from inside your house. You don't deal with anyone but Linksys or Netscape, and I'm just using those as generalities because I'm not remembering the name or the service. That's what happens when we do these kinds of conversations. It's all off the cuff. But you're dealing with the hardware vendor as the provider of your service.
Doesn't look like my sock. Well, maybe my sock.
Did you bring it with you? We thought you went running lickety split.
Well, it was right beside you on the floor. It could be.
It
He
is.
doesn't grab it, I'll grab it, maybe it's up here somewhere. I think I'm sitting at the wrong end. Oh, there.
Wait, you want the sock?
Just pass it around. Somebody will claim it.
Yeah, no, I just went through my sock drawer, they all matched up, and the ones that didn't, I gave for cleaning
To one of
supplies.
the people.
And it would have been one of those.
That hotspot stuff is fabulous.
Really?
Yes, my 14-year-old grandson got me onto it, and it allows me to use cable, well, what was cable TV in Tucson at no extra charge. And there's all kinds of other advantages.
But don't you have to pay to have a hotspot?
It's on your phone.
But you have to pay.
Well, you pay in terms of whatever you pay for your data plan.
Yeah.
So whatever your data plan is what
So if I have unlimited data, I could do a hotspot on my phone and it wouldn't cost me.
no more than what you pay for data. Yeah.
On our, like our AT&T has an option. We're on the unlimited data, but it says there's a charge to go to the hotspot.
Yeah.
We can add the hotspot to one of our lines for $10 more a month.
Yeah,
Yes.
because probably because we're already on unlimited, they're going to make you pay for something.
Well, yeah, it all depends on how you set up your That's why I qualify that like that. Whatever you're paying for data is what you're going to end up paying for using your
In my
hotspot.
car, I can turn my car into a hotspot too.
Mhm.
It's $10
For your,
My car.
who do you pay the $10 to for your car?
AT&T.
AT&T.
Well, how does that, so they would be associated with your AT&T account? That's interesting.
What is the advantage of having a car with a hotspot?
Everybody in the car can use internet?
There's no advantage for me, so I
Yeah.
don't do it.
Well,
I guess if I hauled around a lot of people, they could.
kids.
Yeah.
Time in the back seat.
The real advantage is that AT&T gets $10 a month from you using your car as a hotspot. That's the real advantage. So my Telcel doesn't charge me anything to be a hotspot. And I haven't tried.
But you have a limited data.
I do have a limited data plan. I don't have an unlimited data plan. You know what? And now that you say that, that's interesting. I remember Sid for years would not change his plan with AT&T because he was grandfathered into this unlimited data plan.
Yeah.
But they would not let him use it as a hotspot.
Without
Yeah.
upcharge.
And there wasn't like a $10 a month
Oh,
he
they
paid
just
for.
wouldn't do it.
They wouldn't let him use it. If he wanted to start using it as a hotspot, he had to get a new contract. And they wanted him out of that unlimited.
But- See,
I'm afraid because I do have dead spots on the drive down from Colorado. And I know exactly where they are with AT&T and I know how long it's going to get there.
Right.
I worry about T-Mobile having worse or more or,
You have a Telcel one?
no, I do.
No, you don't use Telcel?
No, I
Because
do
you
not.
could have two, like when you take one of your old phones and just put a SIM card in that.
I could put it in my new phone, but I don't.
No, but I mean, if you have two phones, so you'd be covered in most. Like that.
No, because it's in the States.
No, the Telcel works.
Yeah, but there's no service there.
Telcel switches to T-Mobile. when you
There is
cross
no
the
service
border.
between Hatch, New Mexico and Deming.
Yeah, that's been my experience down in the States. It switches to T-Mobile. In Alaska, it was on AT&T until the end of the summer when it was on Verizon.
A friend of mine has Verizon and she also has their.
Well, and the thing with 5G is that it doesn't give you any extra range. In fact, under its most acute situations, it gives you less range. It gives you more speed, but less range. And so you can't fix those dead spot areas by sticking 5G up on that tower. It's not going to make any difference.
Just proves you can't have it all.
Right.
I do have a question about the new iPhone 14s that would work off a satellite.
Well, that's an emergency system
Only,
but
but in a dead zone, it's gonna work.
yeah, that's right. You can send out an SOS message in anywhere, I imagine anywhere that's within satellite range to qualify that statement, which I can't imagine there's a place on the planet that isn't within satellite range, you know? Yeah, for some reason, I think it works there too.
So that would be my big reason to have my phone.
Well, you don't have to activate it. I mean, you mean physically on the phone? The iPhone has a special series of buttons you can hit to get into the SOS mode.
But it's a 14.
It's only the 14, and that's the thing is that it's got this new antenna and this new radio built into it specifically for this purpose. And they've made a deal with the satellite providers so that an iPhone can send out an SOS signal and it will ping a satellite and it'll go whichever direction it's supposed to go. There's no two-way conversation that happens. That's right. It's that I fell in a crevice, I crashed on a ski mountain, right? Those kinds of things. I'm lost on a desert island.
I have a new mini topic.
Okay.
A mini topic.
Oh, I just want to add to the satellite thing for a second. We'll do the mini topic in just a second. What triggered your thought has triggered my thought. And I believe that what we're seeing, are we running out of time? Thank you, Linda.
Yes.
2 minutes. Okay, we'll end this virtual meeting with this last thought. I think that Apple is taking this opportunity to test the waters for satellite phone service, and they could either contract for as long as they need or just start putting up their own satellites for phone service. That's all I wanted to add to that. I'll switch us over to the next meeting right now, and I'll meet you guys on the other side because this is about to end. We've got, yeah, it's on the countdown. But you might be interested if it's a 12 or older. All right. That mic is off.
It might have been me.
Was it you?
Yeah, my mic was on.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm just happy everyone got in without me. I think that's the first time I've seen that. Normally I have to let people into the meeting. Everybody in our crew here must have it scheduled. Bill, you got some fine TV going there.
Oh. There, better?
And that's Cheryl's. Hi, Cheryl. You guys aren't actually seeing what's going out to YouTube. You're seeing what's coming in on this one computer over here because I've got 3 computers. And Cheryl's just looking at me right now.
I'm looking at everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where is, this is the one. I want to have this one for everyone to see. There we go. Okay. Oh, one more change.
We lost Jim.
Yeah? Was he paying attention to us switching over?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Do you have to let him in?
Well, there's
And
nothing on my screen to let him
Oh,
in.
no, Linda's here.
I'm here.
All right. Well, that was a good indicator of where we are in this meeting. And I don't know if we've got other, oh yes, Bill has a mini topic for us. Go ahead, Bill.
I just noticed on the internet, there's a company offering an AI service to anybody in court. You can put your earbuds in and the AI will give you, it listens to the court proceedings and gives you what you need to say next. So it's your own little AI lawyers just talking in your ear.
Now, is this, I read the headline of this, that there is a court case going on right now with an AI lawyer.
Yeah. Well, it's the person wears the earbuds. The AI lawyer says objection and you say objection.
Wow.
Wow.
So you can be your own lawyer. You don't have to spend $500,000 to become a lawyer. And you're probably better than the one you'd hire for $300 an hour.
Wow.
But part of the article that I just saw is saying that it's going to go to the Supreme Court. They're saying you cannot have electronic devices like that in the courtroom. Really? But can you imagine? You wouldn't even have to show up. You have his AI lawyer argue against your AI lawyer, and you maybe even have an AI judge.
Well, and I only read the headline of this one article, but all that came to my mind is, and I got the impression that the idea was going forward is to play with those kinds of ideas.
Yes.
That you could let an AI just go over all your documents and all your situations, and then these two things are figuring out which is the winner in this case.
Well, you don't have to pay an AI judge a pension.
That's true. I don't know what an AI jury would look like, though.
Well, yeah, you know what we might be looking at in the future is judgments coming down.
Yeah.
And then if you don't understand why that judgment was declared, then you're asking for a report of why this judgment was made, and then your appeal is on the report. You're like, this says I lost because of these things, but these aren't true. We have this infinite process of AIs feeding AIs, so going to court and filing appeals
at light speed. One day and you've already been through Supreme Court.
It's the legal version of day trading, automatic day trading.
Automatic day trading, exactly right. Same stakes too.
Yeah, then you definitely need 5G. Well, I have brought a couple of topics here. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at it. Just some fun stuff like the driver of a Tesla falling asleep and the police having to chase him and the car wouldn't stop.
Knight Rider. The old TV series, Knight Rider. That's exactly the premise of the beginning, the very opening.
Knight Rider was the first smart car, wasn't it?
Yes, and he basically in the pilot, he falls asleep, and the police pull him over, and the kit, isn't it?
Yeah, the car was smart enough to know he was being pulled over.
Well,
that's actually the point they're making in this article.
Is the car told him, pretend you're deaf, that you couldn't hear the siren.
That's the AI lawyer.
The AI lawyer.
The AI lawyer. That's what I want in my smart car, is the AI lawyer.
Anyway, Tesla driving.
Oh, well, it was in Germany, and apparently the point of the article is that a lot of these autopilot, they don't know how to deal with emergency vehicles. They can't, the nuances of things like sirens and lights have not been taken, which they could. It would be with a robust camera, that they say this in the article, that they could be making allowances for that stuff, but not in Tesla. Tesla, they've worked very hard to strip out as many cameras as they can. They want it all to be artificial intelligence based on the most rudimentary of sensory data.
Yeah, they want it streamlined. They don't want cameras sticking out.
And that's why they've got lawsuits against them right now saying they can't call it auto drive anymore, and their cars are accidentally killing people from time to time.
Yeah.
I mean, just tongue in cheek at Elon Musk, because really I'm a firm believer that cars driving themselves are a whole lot safer than people driving themselves.
Safer than me.
I'm on that page. Right. Are you saying that the auto drive allowed them to survive?
No.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that maybe if auto drive took over, it
Wouldn't have gone over the cliff. Yeah, no, that's
Roll cage was pretty good.
lesson learned. You want to commit murder or suicide with your family, don't buy a Volvo. Oh, was it a Tesla?
Yeah, but it didn't deploy the emergency chute.
That's right. That was a subscription service he let expire. I didn't pay the chute fine this month. That's right on the checklist next to auto start and fuel efficiency.
Another little sidebar, when we were in Vegas this year, we saw these white cars driving around, and they're all decked out with cameras and stuff, sensors, like Nissan cars, and they travel in pairs or triplet. And I finally figured out they're mapping, it's a company mapping for their Uber service in downtown Vegas, self-driving Uber service. But you see them all times, day and night, driving around. It's just this group of cars.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If your vehicle is driving and it has all the gizmos on it saying that it anti-crash, but if you're traveling in snow and those lenses get covered up,
I think that's good insight. One of the things that's been interesting at this period, right at the end of 2022 and starting 2023, we're starting to see articles of people saying this auto driving thing is much harder than we were anticipating it to be. Yeah, for years, they kept saying, 5 or 10 years, 5 or 10 years, 5 or 10 years. And then we hit somewhere like right around 2019, 2020. They're like, it's right around the corner. We can start deploying taxi services. And we started seeing it prop up. And now here we are at the end of 2022, the beginning of 2023. And these experts are saying, no, it may not be ready yet. 5 or 10, we're back to 5 or 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's gotten covered in mud. Yeah.
Same thing with the rear camera. Ottawa last year. That's almost a problem because you're used to being able to park with it. And it just snow. Back of it, and the snow sticks on the back of your car when you're driving around in the snow.
And if bugs land on the sensor, it also shuts off cruise control and everything.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
My car does that. It'll, if the sensors are up here behind the mirror.
Okay.
And if it gets dirty up there, all of a sudden the adaptive cruise control will shut down. It'll beep and it'll shut down. So basically, you turn the windshield wiper on, clean the window off, and it goes again. Well, the other thing is you stay in Mexico.
That's such an awesome way to solve a tech problem. You gotta wash the window.
Yeah.
It's still going to be operator error.
Right.
Some level.
It's a lateral change of responsibility. You've gone from having to drive responsibly to making sure your windows are clean.
Now, there's another advantage, or whatever you want to call it, for my car has the sensing for the windshield wiper. If it starts to rain, it'll cut in.
Oh, really?
We scared the hell out of some more Mexican kid in Hermosillo one day. He gets up there and he sprays it on the window, and the windshield wipers start going.
Wow.
No, I didn't mean that.
That's how to be an obnoxious foreigner in different ways.
Well, because he come to the car, and I said, yes, go ahead.
Oh, that's funny. You're like, you egged him on. He's like, yeah, come try and wash my window.
They're the kind that spit on your window. So I paid him extra.
That's right. For not washing the window.
Oh, no, I eventually got the windshield wiper shut off. You just pull it, like there's 3 or 4 settings on your windshield thing. Yeah, you put it on auto, and it just comes on when you hit rain or anything. And then you just put it to off, and it's fine.
On another topic, I've got one that I'm going to throw out there as a question because I have not found a solution to it. Thank you for answering everything. 42. I've switched to an iPhone. We've talked about this before. I switched to an iPhone over the summer from an Android, and I am in such a habit of just telling Google at the time, but now Siri, to schedule appointments, making me nuts because every time I schedule an appointment. An example of scheduling an appointment would be I've got a program for a button, so I don't say, hey Siri, I press the button. And you just turn off Hey Siri in the settings. Yeah, there's a set of, there is, if you go into settings, there is a Siri and certain option. And if you go in there, you can turn off Hey Siri. Your screen button, the side button there that brings the screen up.
However, I have to have Hey Siri because of how my car responds.
Well, when you press the button and you hold, I gotta unlock it. You hold it, Siri appears, and then you can say whatever you want to Siri. And normally she's not very helpful. So my workflow for scheduling an appointment, hold the button, say, make an appointment for for tomorrow at 10 a.m. with Janie. And what Siri immediately does is goes through my contact list looking for Janie. And if I've got contact information for one Janie, it will send out a meeting invite, putting it on my calendar. And if I have more than one Janie, then I have to flip through all the results and choose which one I'm referring to. And if I have no Janie in my contacts, well, that gets even more complicated because there's no one to send an invite to. And the problem I'm having is I can't figure out how to turn off the invite. And you would think that would be a checkbox, but it doesn't exist. And I pose it as a challenge to anyone using an iPhone right now to tell me how to use Siri to schedule an appointment without it automatically trying to send out an invite to, because you know what the solution is? I figured out the solution. I'm not using Siri anymore. I'm using the Google app that I can load on my iPhone, which can't be at all what Apple wants me to do, right? Apple doesn't want the first thing for me to do is go download the Google Voice Assistant and turn off Siri forever. That can't be how Apple wants me to use it. But they're pushing me. They're pushing me because for some reason, every Siri scheduled appointment includes an invitation to the guests of that appointment. Yes. It is.
I was just trying it, but it kept listening to you talking. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. No, I was trying it on my phone.
Yeah, I want you to try it on your phone. I want other people to have this experience.
Did you ask Google how to change it, stop it?
Intensely. I have asked Google so many times.
No, you gotta.
You know what's infuriating, Jim? And you'll love this. What's infuriating is I do not get an answer to the question, even in all the Apple literature. What you get is an answer to a different question. You're going to love this. The answer to the different question is very straightforward. But the different question is, how do I stop receiving calendar spam on my iPhone?
Not even close.
Well, no, calendar spam are the fucking invitations that people are sending out by accident. That's what calendar spam is.
Yes.
Calendar spam is when you go into your Apple device and you're looking at your calendar and there's all the joint people's meetings and events. And so the number one answer to my question of how do I stop sending invitations is how do I stop receiving invitations?
Yeah.
But if you remember, that's what happened with this meeting. I kept getting like 8, 9 notifications.
Well, I'm sorry to tell you, that was intentional.
But no, I just set an appointment with Scott tomorrow and set an appointment with Scott tomorrow.
Okay, and was I in your contact list?
Yes, you are. Did you get Yes.
I don't know.
I said, hey Siri.
How many Scotts are in your mini?
I have one that's Scott Horrible. I just tried to do that one. He was at.
Oh, so you got to pick from a bunch of Scotts.
No, I just
What
said
you probably
Scott.
said the most of them all.
I don't think so. I hope not to Scott Horrible. He was horrible.
I got to know how to fix this thing because it's making me nuts. Maybe I'll contact Apple and hold them accountable.
Scott Horrible was a fence contractor who I'm sure.
I thought it was the TV guy.
No.
Actually, I missed him. He was pretty bad, but I missed him.
We all miss him.
He would come to work in the evening and use his flashlight on his cell phone to help my fence. He was like, oh my goodness. Oh, awful.
I'm sure I have got the notifications turned off, but I wonder if I turn them on, if I'll get a notification. Oh, you know what? Go into your see it, Jim.
See it, James.
Go into your calendar appointment you just created with me.
I didn't, yeah, but I use
Well, it's all Apple when you're doing it through your phone, right? So in that calendar appointment, it should have a invitee. You should see my name there as being somebody that was invited. You know what? Maybe that is the solution. Maybe the solution is not using Google, but using the Apple Calendar.
My point is that it was Google that was sending me all the messages from Computer Club until I said, block them all.
This is interesting. I wonder if it is. I wonder if I don't have any control whether sending invitations. No, it's a good thought. I'm going to look into that because there's a whole bunch of people asking my question, and they're all getting this other answer.
And you're asking it of Google.
Well, in the Google search engine,
Why
yeah.
don't you use a different search engine? I
That
find
seems.
Google search engine to be very annoying with their priorities, so I don't use it.
Well, I mean, I do a lot of searching. So yeah, as you can imagine, I do a lot of searching for tech stuff, and these are the results I'm getting using the methods that I've used. But I like your suggestion that if I was using the Apple Calendar, I might have had some control over it. Maybe because I use a Google Calendar, I don't have any control over it. Hey, we're getting towards the end of this meeting, and I have some other topics that they don't expire, so we can talk about them later. But let's take a moment and talk about some recommendations we would make to this whole group. If you've come to our meeting with a website, application, book, movie, or TV show that you feel like the rest of our group would benefit from knowing about, please let us know now. If you got my notification this morning, is Jim with it? Is Paul with us? Everything, oh, Paul's with us. There we go. Jim looks frozen though. If you have any recommendations, let me know. I stuck some on the document I sent out earlier, so my recommendations you can find without hearing me. If you've got some you want to recommend, Jim, you said you'd brought something, right?
Oh, yeah, well, I've been watching the fourth season of Mrs. Maisel. I don't know if anybody watches that. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and she's very funny and fast. But she talked very fast, and that was part of her shtick to begin with. But in the fourth season, it seems so fast, Carolyn can't even keep up with it. And if you ask for subtitles, you can't read them fast enough. Okay. Then the other show I really did enjoy, was a sort of a binge watch, was the speaker election.
That's a show? The speaker. Oh. It was a shit show.
And somebody said to me, well, that's what Biden
Wasn't that interesting?
Yes.
And if they don't win an Emmy, I think it's rigged.
I pulled him away with a hand over.
Around here.
Yeah.
I love the compliments that
It's equivalent to the
C-SPAN
whole-
got, because C-SPAN all of a sudden turned into like a Spielberg director.
Well,
Get full-length episodes of it. It's a long-running, I want to say quiz show, called QI.
Yes, it's a good show.
I find that hilarious. I binge watched that.
Yeah.
Last
So,
week.
yeah,
That's on a streaming service you can watch it?
Yeah.
Netflix or,
No, YouTube's free.
oh, just on YouTube. Oh, okay, of course.
But they do have the full half hour of this in the episode.
Oh, great. I never realized that.
so to go back to.
It's, I think in its 11th season, so there's a lot of them to watch.
Mm-hmm.
They're excellent.
We have friends over there that never miss it. It's just like, that. And what's the street?
What was it called?
QI.
QI.
It's very informative and it's full of esoterica and trivia.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
It's funny. The moderators. Funny.
Yeah. Particularly the woman.
To go to Jim's problem with the programs, they talk too fast. Some of those streaming ones you can
Slow it down.
you can slow it down.
I'll have to check on that.
Yeah, some of them, I don't know if you can do it on all, but I think like Netflix, you can move it down or speed it up.
I haven't explored any of those settings. That's interesting.
Well, it's somewhere, I've seen it.
I've seen it in my podcast app. I can speed things up or slow them down.
I think it was Netflix. You go over to the little sidebar there and you can go twice as fast. You can watch the movie in half the time if you want. Oh no, you can. Most of them you can still hear it. You can, but it goes. It's going fast. But I know you can slow it down. Give it a try.
How those British movies go like that. Good to speed them up. So, anybody else got any movies?
Glass Onion.
The English Game? Oh, you got some.
I got 3 movies real quick. Great movies. White Noise came out this year. At the moment, I can't remember what it's about. I put it on my list and I can't remember now. That's what it is. I'm bringing it up in front of us because I'll remember as soon as I see it. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is a movie about a professor that is the well, you know what? It's not what it's about. It's the atmosphere that they create. Because what's going on in the background is there's this event that happens, some toxic event. And so it's this dark comedy. It has Adam Dreyer in it. And he plays a professor. This is in the early 70s. I think it's 1972. And a very intellectual house of family and children, all of them well-read and idiosyncratic behaviors. And his wife has got some really strange behaviors, but they're all fairly higher educational level, and how they deal with this toxic event that happens to their town. It's very funny. But it is a dark comedy, and it's an easy recommendation. We laughed a lot. It held our attention throughout the whole thing. I don't agree with the 55%. I think it was a great movie. I forget who else is in it. It's a Noah Baumbach movie.
Where's it streaming?
Netflix.
Netflix, great.
It's on Netflix. So it deserves a higher rating just for availability. Yeah.
Okay.
Another one that I do remember is Violent Night. This is another dark comedy. You might have saw a commercial for this. Hey, have you seen it? Do you know the one I'm talking about? No, it's kind of a love story with the sadistic Santa Claus. This has got, what's his name in it from Stranger Things. He was also one of the that's his name, Dave Harbour. He's been in all kinds of movies, but he's recently gotten a lot of attention because of his role as a sheriff in Stranger Things, which is also a recommended TV show. It's awesome. But he plays actual Santa Claus, and he's like grumpy old Santa Claus, and he gets into this situation. So I don't want to go deep into it, but it's a like a crime terrorist kind of situation, and he's just fed up being Santa Claus. It is very funny, definitely. But you also check your brain at the door, and you don't mind a little gore. And the third movie, which I think you all have to watch, is Bardo. If you haven't seen it yet, and I forget this director's name all the time. He's a Mexican director. He's gotten famous in the United States for movies like Birdman with Michael Keaton. I'm trying to remember what's his, oh, come on. You'd recognize all of them. For some reason, I can't. Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu is the director.
Yeah. Yes.
Go ahead, Jim. What other movies?
I just remember the director. He's brilliant.
Birdman is the only thing coming to mind, but there's like a half a dozen movies that you probably enjoyed that are critically acclaimed and you had no idea this guy was the director of? And Bardo is the new one, and you would almost think, he claims it's not, but you would almost think it's his surreal interpretation of his life. And it's a story that is rooted in Mexican culture, even though it's like American financed movie. He's a Mexican director that went to LA to make movies. And this is the story of a journalist coming back to his roots in Mexico with a family that is, his wife, himself, and his kids are 100% Mexican, but they've grown up in the American culture. And even his daughter isn't part of that family unit any longer. She's gone off to, I think she's living in Boston, but he's getting these kudos and awards for his most recent work, which follows immigration from Mexico to the United States. And all of that background is fictitious. This isn't a real person or a real story, but it's a story between the, and it's on Netflix, and it is very enjoyable. And what I like is it dives really deep into Mexican music and Mexican culture. Yeah, I mean, just the things that Mexicans do and the way they think about things, what they think is funny, and it does it with the perspective of this guy. You do it everything through his eyes. Been changed by his experience living in Hollywood, living in LA in the United States, and the Bardo character. And the way the movie is shot, it is in a very surreal kind of dream world at times. There are times when the guy is flying and times when he's in an orgy of bodies. And there's this one scene that's taking him through the celebration, and there's just dancing and music and every just elbow to elbow people in Mexico City in this club, and the background music is this a cappella singing from David Bowie. It's just a very surreal way of doing a movie. And I know I've used that word a number of times, but I highly recommend it for all of us just because of our own interest in Latin culture and Mexico specifically, and the way we view things and our experience in the United States. So I got one more. That
take turns.
No, I can't take turns. I didn't get to say any last week. Are you guys familiar with Creature Features? Horror hosts?
Yep.
On TV as you're growing up, there's like an Elvira
okay.
out there. So I stumbled across this one called Creature Features that apparently is from the California area. And they broadcast on TV, but over the pandemic, they started putting their movies and their broadcast on YouTube. And I did not like it. I didn't like the hosts. I thought it was really corny, but I like the movies. The movies are all these old, anything from the 1930s all the way up. I think the newest movie I've seen is in the 90s, like 93. And they're all these obscure horror films that obviously a program like that can afford to play. And I've had too much fun that I can't share it. These people grow on you. Their antics and their jokes and the things they do, just you can't watch. You can watch one and never go back to it, but you can't watch 4 and stop watching them. And now I've got like a dozen old classic sci-fi movies that I've enjoyed, and horror movies, creature movies that I've never seen before, titles that I'd never heard before. I've just had a lot of fun. And if you go into YouTube and just search for Creature Features, you'll find their YouTube channel. And they've been, since about the beginning of the pandemic, they've been putting their weekly shows out on this YouTube channel. Yes, Ray.
Back in the dark ages, I worked for the Scottsdale. And we had a series of trash show films. It was the worst films of all time, festival kind of thing. And And the worst one was Planet 9 from Outer Space.
Oh, of
God.
course, yeah.
Yes.
Well, the UFO craft in it was a paper plate. It was very obvious. It was.
But is that the one with burning as it landed?
In one of the scenes, yeah.
One of them, the spaceship has come down a wire. You can see the wire, and they've doused it in lighter fluid, and it's burning. Anyway, quick note: Elvira just was on the internet or posted something the other day. Said she lost a lot of dirty old men when she came out of the closet.
Probably gained a lot of it too.
Anyway, Daniel Craig in Glass Onion.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
It's the corniest damn thing. You can check your brain at the door, but Daniel Craig is a detective right out of the deep South with this weird accent, weird Southern accent, and it's the old school detectives like Charlie Chan. Always there's twists in this thing, it keeps going around.
I listened to it. It's Ryan Johnson that has done these Knives Out movies.
Yeah.
And he's one of the directors from the Star Wars movies. And I heard an interview with him the other day, and it is so obvious that these Knives Out movies are like a love letter to Agatha Christie.
Yes.
That he wants to do more of these kind. They're already working on a third movie that will use Daniel Craig in the same detective role.
Yeah, he's the recurring detective.
That's right. But Glass Onion is the latest one.
The first one was Knives Out. Was the first one.
Yeah, Knives Out was the first.
I've watched it. And I've already forgotten what it's about. They're funny. They're just funny, and they're about this deep.
Hey, I see Chester's got his hand up here. I'm sorry, I don't know how long you've had your hand up, Chester, but go ahead and tell us what you want.
I have 2 series to report on. One I would recommend you not watch, and the other I recommend you do watch.
Okay.
One not to watch is George and Tammy.
Oh.
George Jones and Tammy Wynette. It will destroy your opinion of those 2 individuals.
Just in case.
Sorry about that. Chester, tell us again your reason not to watch George and Tammy.
It will destroy your opinion of those 2 individuals who basically you kind of like their music, but they live such wicked lives that it destroys their image. The other point is that the music is original, but the singers are not. So they have not used the original voices. The other one I do recommend is 1923.
1923. That's the new
Taylor Sheridan.
Yeah, I watched the first 3
Yellowstone spinoff.
3 hours of it, and it was very enjoyable.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Chester. That's what I was trying to say. This is the latest Yellowstone spinoff. This is the next generation. What was the other one? 18 something, right?
1883.
1883. Yeah, I know people have really been enjoying the. I never watched any of these.
1923.
1883 and 1923.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
And he has, I think, another 2 or 3 spinoffs coming.
Yeah, people love it.
I read somewhere that, quote, it's Taylor Sheridan's world, and the rest of us just live in it.
Well, do we have any other recommendations for this computer club meeting before I call it to an end?
We watched
The English Game.
Well, I enjoyed the Last Onion, but also an anthropology series, which was The Human Playground. And it's about people, what they do for rite of passage into manhood, and what they claim is an important part of sports is what the kids learn going through the rites of passage.
What was the name of that, Paul?
Human Playground.
Human Playground. I have not heard of it.
Netflix. That's the trouble. I have access to a lot of different streamers, and it's hard for me to remember which ones I saw them on.
Well, great. Do we have any others? Our meeting here in person is starting to funnel out. Yeah, Cheryl, what do you got? Bill has left. He's on his way home.
Good. That Mike Miller left, but Mike and Kathy have recommended the menu. I looked it up. It looks kind of freaky, but they're the ones that told us about the Knives Out. And the next one that Kathy and Mike Miller recommended is the menu.
Okay.
It looks like a island adventure that goes wrong.
Well, we'll have to check that out too. I write these down and I try and make links to information about these movies in each one of the documents that I send out. And so if you're on the mailing list, at the very least, you should be able to see the document. But if you've got a Google account, then you've been invited to edit the document so that you can add your own stuff to any one of the notes for our meetings. You can add more follow-up, or if you get it before our meeting, you can add your own topics to it so that I know that that's what you want to talk about in this meeting. Jim and I are sitting here juxtaposed to each other, wondering what's going to happen here at the end of this meeting. Jim, you got anything to finalize this meeting with? All right, we're just waiting for the bill. Until next Tuesday, you guys take care of yourselves and tech on, and we'll see you at 10 from Tequilas next Tuesday. Adios, amigos.
Adios, guys.
Scott?
Yes, Cheryl.
Can you please delete my Gmail account from your newsletter and use my iCloud one?
Yes, I'm sorry. You asked me to do it and I didn't get a chance to do it. But it got me thinking that what you should do is format an email client and download all your Gmail to your computer. And then you could wipe out what's in your Gmail account.
Format a Gmail, what?
Yeah, use something like an Outlook or a, I want to say Microsoft Mail, but what you want to, yeah, Microsoft Mail would work. You want to grab it as a pop mail account. So you set up your Gmail to be accessed as a pop mail account, and you grab everything, a copy of everything that's there, and you've put it into one particular computer. And then you can just go and wipe out all this old mail from your Gmail account, and you've got a copy of it.
Well, what I've done is I've got it down so that I'm at 70% on the storage by deleting, I was fed up with having to look at each thing that they said was a large attachment or whatever. So I just deleted them all, and
There you go.
Back, and I'm not sure what I've lost. I guess I'll never know.
I guess that was the suggestion I was making is, see, I'm always worried about losing stuff that just doesn't matter. But I would keep a copy. I would just grab all the mail I can, keep a copy of that on a particular computer, maybe a computer that does backups. And then I could feel free to go into Gmail and wipe out like 5 years of email without worrying about whether I had a copy of it or not.
The other thing is, it's my Google Photos, G Drive, Google Docs, everything was being included in that storage.
It is everything. That's how their Google storage works now.
I do not want my photos being kept to Google. I want them to go to Amazon because we pay for Amazon, and I want them to go to my iCloud. But I have a heck of a time making it stop going to Google.
Well, you could uninstall the app for Google Photos. You're talking about off your phone, right?
Well, on my iPad, my phone, and on my computer.
Yeah, so you could remove the Google Photos app and leave the Amazon app. The moment you uninstall that app, regardless of how you had it set up, it'll stop synchronizing up to the Google space.
Okay, I can do that for sure. One phone, and I'll work on it on the other one.
Cool. All
Okay,
right.
thank
Cheryl. If I don't see you again, I'll see you on Tuesday.
Okay,
Okay, bye.
next Tuesday, we're going to be in Edmonton.
Oh, I won't see you next Tuesday then.
Yeah.
If I don't see you again, have a nice trip back.
Actually, at 10 o'clock next Tuesday morning, we are going to be with the internet provider in our home in Alberta to figure out what's been going on while we've been gone. So,
Well, I feel fortunate to have worked out the microphone issue. Now I don't need Bill here.
yeah. He's not there next week. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
All right, Cheryl. We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, that's it. We did it.